Good morning, friends. I wonder how many of you have had time thus far to look at the Richard Moss interview and to connect with what I was saying about that and how it's this perfect equipoise, this perfect point of now, of not the very next step, but the step that we're taking now. What a delight and a joy and an adventure it is to seek to be balanced and delightfully poised in that now. That is the point of maximum flow and exposure to what is, in my humble opinion, to light. That's our point of communication with the fullness of life. And we can choose to be connected to that at any time. Now, the extent to which that flow will be enabled to come through does have something to do with our energy force field. How cleaned up is it? How much work have we done? Not just with our physicality. The physical is the sort of a final expression of energies that don't start out physical at all. Everything's based on thought at some level. And I wouldn't limit thought to what the 3D mind does. That's one layer or level of thought. But I think it's maybe somewhat limited when you consider that the physical is the crystallization of thought. It's slowing thought down to a vibration slow enough that it condenses, it congeals, and it appears in the matrix, in the hologram. And so, who and what we are is so much more than that. But what we're doing when we look at 3D is we're looking at results. We're looking at reflections. And this is just one perspective. I mean, you know, I don't know that it's a story. I don't know that there's any story at all that contains the whole thing, but does it need to? I mean, aren't we having a great deal of joy and learning and growth in playing around and dancing in through and around all the various stories, opening ourselves up, opening our hearts up to hear our brothers and our sisters tell their story from their perspective, and to make room for that, you know, like you're making room for me. I'm a bit of a nut, an odd case, and once upon a time I let that limit me. I folded my wings pretty tightly around myself, and I kept so very much of who and what I am and the flow of that between me and the journals. And well, you know what it's like. Come on. If you're here listening to me or watching or reading the transcript, then chances are pretty good that you're not very easily understood either. You know, finding someone with whom you can make a connection and feel like you're actually heard. Oh my God, that is a luxury and a gift that sometimes it's kind of hard to imagine. Just being heard, you know, just knowing somebody on the other end of the conversation gets it, becomes infinitely precious almost. And that kind of shows us the extent to which we've gone out to the end of the tether, the extent to which we've dived into the illusion, the dream, and identified with it. And what it represents is separateness. We take on a belief in the illusion that we're separate. And what part of that includes is not being understood. Because we're not realizing that everyone else is an aspect of self. And that deep inside, we really do understand. But it takes some digging. It takes a while until we can clear out a lot of the junk and debris that has clouded the glory of our light. We are beings of infinite light. We are eternal. We're impossible to kill, you know, and we take on all these other beliefs and things, and without really realizing, it comes on incrementally. And so we don't realize how our beliefs control and contort our reality. And no doubt, like me, you're happy at least that we're on the return trip now. We're no longer going out deeper and deeper and deeper into the adventure. In a way, we are, but the way of it is the return into the higher, the fuller consciousness, the origin of all of this. So it's the return. All right. I've been having a little bit of fun with some journals from March, from spring of 2010. So I'll be going through some of those. And this is a short one, only 2 pages. Imagine that. I usually go on and on. This one is from 3/10 of 2010, the first of that day, which was one night or house. It's called Finding Your Own Way. Special, special day. Why? Who knows? It just is, and that is enough. Every day, heck, every moment is special, of course. While we may acknowledge this logically, mentally, that is not our experience usually, is it? And there's the rub. To be or not to be, that is the question, as the bard said. Of course, I have him sadly out of context here, but the quotes become so famous that we tend to do with it what we like. When Hamlet said that, he was in the midst of a sea of troubles and quite troubled himself within, or so he seemed, if he was mad. But then maybe not. Now back to here and now. Are you able to enter what they call the moment, the now? Much has been written of it. The way I'm seeing things, most of that writing is garbage. That is, unless it brought you there, enabled you to enter in, to experience it. Okay, center down. Let's be in the heart. If you want these experiences, that's a basic start. I won't say requirement, as nothing is required of anyone. Besides, Eckhart gets quite good results by what he calls entering the inner body, or even just the tingly sensation you get when you focus a few moments on your hands, when you put your attention there. I use the heart, calling it the inner kingdom or the kingdom of heart, but these are just words. You have to find what's best, which is what works for you. Don't take my word for anything, nor anyone else's word. We can't do this for you. You've got to enter in, To be or not to be is not a spectator sport. Most people are too much in the head. It's funny, too, because when you ask them to point to themselves most everyone points to the chest, to the heart area. You know, you ask a child to point to himself and he doesn't do this. Yet we walk about with the focus of our consciousness, our attention and awareness quite firmly in the head. That's the perspective we see from life, right through the eyes. Now there's the rub. Excuse me. I have to remember to turn that thing off or cover it with a pillow when I start. Okay, most of us focus our attention and our awareness quite firmly in the head. We see through the eyes. And there's the rub, for what we see is most certainly not at all real. Come on. Don't we know that every atom is 99.99999% empty? As in space? There's really not anything there, not to speak of. Yet, what do we see? What is our experience of it? Do we ever pause to take some time to question that? Are we too busy with the rat race? What is this blind reliance on the senses and what they report? Are they truthful enough to merit that? I don't think so. That's one of the things that helped me let material reality, what the world seems to be, go and take off and go tripping, as it were. Life's a hoot. But being stuck in the material appearance of things isn't. That's a trap, and it slows us down for sure. Be sure to be in heart, though, or whatever your version of centered is. That's the major secret here. That's the heart and maybe the soul of what I offer. You can have an experience here, but not until you leave the head. You've got to center down, place your attention in the center of the chest, and leave it there. Just try listening from there. It works, you know. You'll get the hang of it. Now, don't expect some big instant revelation or anything. Much like life, it takes a bit of practice, some determination, perseverance to get it going. Here's the deal. You will if you want to. That's the bottom line. That's what it amounts to. We get what we want eventually. Oh, wait now. So many just thought of their dreams of wealth, riches of one kind or another. No, that's a head thing. Get back in heart, please. And no, I won't explain. Don't you see? Explaining is a head thing too. It's the mind that looks for mental explanations, for lists and checklists and so on. And you're not meant to understand at first. You have to trust, or at least be brave. Give it a chance, you see. It's a choice that's up to you. You've got to let go, if you want to enter here, of having everything make sense. And that's the head. Do you see? The heart has its own way of making sense, but it doesn't speak up and reveal itself right away. Remember, it's the still, small voice, right? You have to settle down to listen. While in the head, as most are, we're always and forever busy talking. Whether out loud or not doesn't matter. We're talking all the same. Yeah, to ourselves. It's pretty strange once we step back and take a good look at it. But while we're in it, it's the most natural thing going, isn't it? And that's what identification does. It makes the unnatural seem so very natural. So there's some food for digesting. So center in and ponder. Maybe practice keeping your attention at chest level for a bit. See you next time. And I'm going to put a PS on this one and say, everything's in seasons and cycles and stages. It all spirals, you know, it doesn't go in circles, it spirals, and it's either spiraling up or spiraling down. And truth be told, we have lots and lots of spirals going on simultaneously. And so you're spiraling up in some areas and down in others at the same time. And that's fine. You're living all of your lifetimes together right now. And that's nothing the 3D mind can grasp. And nor is it meant to do that. That's not what it's for. But we've got this identification with it, this reliance on it, just like we think that what we see is real. And we think that what we think is real. And these are some habits and patterns of thinking that in order to change them, the first thing we have to do is let go of them. And so that's why all of this letting go is so handy and so required. We can't enter into one thing until we let go of the old way of doing, of being, of thinking, of seeing, of perceiving. See you again soon.